Hey, 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 Dr.Minesha here in the Peace Driven Leader Lounge on this beautiful day. Welcome. Please give me a warm welcome as we invite Jen Marsh in the lounge. Welcome,
Hi,
welcome, welcome.
thank
I
you.
absolutely love your background, your smile, your lipstick matches. The aesthetics is doing it. It's doing it. It's doing well.
Hello.
Welcome so much to the lounge. So glad to have you here. I'm looking forward to diving into some conversation. For those of you all who are listening to us for the very first time, I want to give my formalities. You're in the right place. I'm glad that our paths crossed when it did. This is a true sacred place with leaders of leaders who are living life for real and not at the standard of the culture's way, but at the standard of the kingdom's way, understanding that we are to love, live, and lead differently. And so if you are here, that's because somebody you know loves you, or our paths cross divinely. And I'm so glad that you're here. We're going to have conversations that are real. It's not, we don't talk this through, we don't send prep questions before. Jen has absolutely no idea what I'm going to say. I have no idea what she's going to say. We're just going to have some candid conversation and have fun today. Is that all right?
Mhm.
All right. So, with that being said, without further ado, let's dive into the conversation. Jen, welcome and share with us a little bit about you, any corporate background that you have, if you're a mom, wife, all the roles, all the things. Share with us so we can get some context behind your life, and then we'll dive into conversation.
Oh, yeah. Thanks again for having me. I appreciate the invitation and the opportunity to speak to all that are listening today. Again, I'm Jennifer Marsh, and people call me Jen or MJ, which is, either my name backwards or Minister Jen. So,
Ah,
yes, and
ooh,
all to the above. I am a mom, I am a wife, I'm a sister. I'm a
all
friend,
right.
all of the above. Yeah, I've been married to my husband. Actually, this is our anniversary month. So
All
February the
right.
28th.
Congratulations. How many
Yeah,
years?
we're going on 18 years. And
Wow.
yeah, and we've been together for over 23 and a half years.
Y'all must have met in high
And
school.
we knew each other. He was in junior high and I was in elementary. We lived on the same street.
Oh,
So
I
he was
love
in junior
that.
high with my sister. So I've actually known him
Wow.
over 40 years. So
Wow.
my
Do
best
you
friend.
feel like do you feel like you're still getting to know him, like the evolution of who he is? Isn't that
Absolutely.
awesome? That's
Absolutely.
so cool how that
Let me just
happens.
tell you that Bible talks about being ready for marriage and the largeness of it. And it is
Mm.
very large, as years go and you evolve, and relationship within the relationship evolves as the person
Mhm.
grows, changes maturely, bodily and emotionally. There's a lot to
Mhm.
know. And like I said, I've known him over 45 years, but I'm still getting to know different layers.
We definitely gonna unpack that later. That's so good. That's a whole word right there in and of itself. So tell us, so mom, wife, sister, friend, all the things. You're in ministry,
Yeah.
and what kind of corporate background do you have?
Well, I have more than 20 years of corporate training and coaching background. I've
Awesome.
worked for CBS Health Aetna for multiple years, and so what I do and have done there for all of those years is coach business leaders like broker managers, sales leaders, help them with their national sales conventions, shadow coach them, going on to different sites with them, out to different multiple kinds of businesses. Like, as you know, CVS Health is more than just a retail company where you can go in a retail pharmacy. They're also a
Mhm.
benefit provider for different type of service carriers. So, and also the pharmacy with inside of different for different nursing homes and things like that. So a lot of those brokers, they go out and they have to pitch and sell and so that they can use our pharmacy. So I will
Yeah.
go with them, making sure they're hitting all the key sales points
Awesome.
they
Quality
promise.
control.
And then I will also jump in if I need to help them sell.
Yeah, good stuff. Awesome.
Yes.
So, talk to us about well, first of all, you mentioned that you were married for your husband who you've known for 40 years.
Mhm.
So, before we really dive into just self identity, because we talk a lot around authentic leadership.
Mhm.
And my ideology is that in a world that is so inundated with artificial intelligence, that the
Mhm.
best competitive edge that we will have as humans is to be the authentic version of ourselves. Because at the
Absolutely.
end of the day, there's no one else like us.
Yep.
Right? I don't care what the robot tries to emulate. There is no one who has the soul and the life and the intellect that God has given us. And
Right.
so being married to someone who you've known for so many years,
Mhm.
friends and formal marriage setting, how did you navigate your self identity? Because it seems like at some point, I mean, I was only married in my previous marriage for 11 years, and I found myself losing myself in only 11 years.
Oh, yeah.
Like, how did I get here? Working so hard on trying to make the connection or, building and all the things. And you don't do it intentionally, but it's like subtly you like lose yourself.
Exactly.
Did you ever experience that? And if so, how were you able to overcome and like reclaim that identity within your marriage?
Well, I should say that this is my second marriage with my husband and best friend.
Oh,
I
wow.
probably had that loss of identity when I was younger, married to
Mhm.
my first husband.
Mhm.
So that one was a little bit more complicated than this one. But
Yeah.
yeah, because myself and my husband, we married other people before we got married, and we were
Wow.
friends, for a
Ye
long time
While you
before.
were married?
Hmm. hmm
Wow. Oh my gosh, what a love
Because again,
story.
I've known him since I was 10 years old. So,
Yeah.
yeah, we were friends. We have the same circle of friends,
Wow.
and all of that. He went, like I said, went to junior high with my sister.
So
But
what
in
was a
regards
defining
to
moment after you all left your previous unions and you were like, "Hey, you know what? We should," like how did the veil on the eyes change and y'all started seeing each other romantically? What was that like?
well, it was because, I had got a word from God. And, previous to who my husband is now, he was a catch. And so everybody. And I'm a church girl through and through, and a God girl, I should say, more than a church girl. I'm a God's girl.
Mhm.
That I was like, oh, when God dropped it in on me, I was on my way to a Christian bookstore because I was single, and I would go at the time I was single, so I would go to the bookstore and just like study and sit around so I can keep myself, as a single person out here in
Mhm.
the wilds of these streets. So
Right, grounded and anchored so you don't so you don't sway.
on my way to the bookstore, and God dropped in my spirit, I hadn't seen him. You're going to marry Jamie Marsh. And I'm like, I'm not marrying that uncircumcised Philistine. I'm like, he is not even saved.
Oh, so he wasn't saved then.
I don't know. You know how you just
Right,
assume
right, right,
because of
right,
people's
yeah.
behaviors
Right,
that
you're
you
reflecting
observe.
back on how you knew
But if
him.
if we if he was at home today, he would tell me that he was saved, that he was just,
Right.
living on the edge of things. But and from my standards at the time, he was
Right.
not, on.
Yeah.
Well, so I just was
Right.
like, I'm not marrying him. So, that's how it started. And then God just kept putting him in my spirit, and I would be praying for him and all of that. I made sure that I didn't want to intervene with God. So I did not reach out to him and be like, God, tell
Mm.
my husband and whatever.
Right.
He would periodically pop his head out and be like, "Hey, how you doing?" He would actually bring some of his friends to my apartment and say, "You should listen to her because she got a word from God." And listen,
Ah, so he
yeah, and they
respected
would
the
come.
anointing. He respected the spirit in you.
Minister to them, but at the same time, I would be looking at him like, "Okay," you know?
Yes.
So, but God would be like, periodically when he would trip in, he would say, when he would drip in, he would say, God would say to me, "He's not ready to love you yet. He's not ready yet. So don't say anything. Just
Mm.
let me continue to work on him." So it was years in process.
What?
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, because I love the way you changed and you says I'm a church girl, and you changed to I'm a God's girl, because it is definitely a difference,
Mhm.
right? So when I was, really heavy, going to the church, so much of what was said, I felt like it wasn't a lot of context around it. So I took it literal. That's why I
Mm,
stayed in my last marriage so long. It was like it's like it just shuts off the other parts of your brain. And it's like,
mhm.
no, to death do us part, and the scripture
Yeah.
said, and you're just doing that. So one of the things that stood out to me is the scripture that talks about a man who findeth a wife find a good thing. You're the second woman that I've met that said
Yeah.
that God told her before the
Mhm,
husband.
mhm.
So biblically, what is your understanding about that? Because technically, he was supposed to find you, and not the other way
Yeah,
around,
he
right? Like,
did.
how do you
He
interpret
did,
that?
but neither one of us was mature enough to understand it at the time, 'cause I actually when he first approached me, I was 19 years old. Okay.
Ah.
So, and I was at a club with one of my friends. I wasn't even old enough to be in there. And he was in there and he just kept following me around and saying he wanted to talk to me. And we
Mm,
danced a couple of times. Then we went out for breakfast that same night. You know what I mean?
mm.
And messy boot alert, guys. He was still married to his former wife.
Oh,
Find
yes.
out. I did not find out. And then when I found out, that's when I was like,
Ah, cut it.
no,
Yeah.
can't talk
Yeah.
to you. But they were separated and all of that. But from where I come from, that's not
Right.
appropriate. And I just
Absolutely.
always had said I would never talk to somebody else's husband ever. So when I
Mm.
found that out, going by his house one time and seeing a bunch of shoes in his bedroom that wasn't me,
Wow.
I was like,
Wow.
"Oh, you got a woman or something?" Like,
Yeah, he was open and bold with it.
yeah, so that's why I had to take a step away from that situation. And then again, I had seen him, and then he called me when we years later, and he
Mm.
wanted to go with me to one of my friends was her cousin was going to get married. So we went to this he accompanied me to the on a date to go to a wedding thing. And
Mhm.
this lady that I know, Faith, she has actually a couples group. She said, "What's up with y'all? Y'all gonna do something?" And he was like, "We're next. We're getting married next." I was like,
Oh.
"Back up. We just on one little date now."
Wow.
So
He
yeah, it
knew.
was him, and that was in
So he
pursuit. I
knew.
was never in pursuit
Yeah.
of him ever.
Yeah, he knew. I just, when
But
it
I
comes
still
to
don't find that anything's wrong with it for those ladies out there. When we think about Ruth, okay, and we think about how Boaz and Ruth was,
that's a
and
good
she
one.
put herself in a position to
Position.
be seen. And my pastor talks about it a lot of times, talking to younger women and women who are, like seasoned and that are singled. You have to look the part and be ready at all times. You can't
Mhm.
be like, with my husband called it an influencer cap. When you have on the head bonnet and you just look, I have to be on every day, all day, even though I'm married. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Mm.
men are very visual. And
Yeah.
so if you want to be found, then you need to make sure you're doing things to be found, but inside of God's, confines of that, being led by the Spirit of God.
Yeah,
That's
for
what
sure. And I'm finding more and more, to be honest, more women are, because in my generation, as I was coming up, everybody wanted to be married. That was the thing, you find a good man, and you have children, you have a family. Now I'm starting to hear more and more single women like, yeah, no, no, thank you. I'm good. I'm content. And
mhm,
there's been so many different types of dynamics that's been birthed, with that not even being on their radar. And it's just so interesting to me how this narrative have shifted so much when it comes to what marriage looks like. And that's why I can really appreciate, hearing stories like this with you all having such a history, and then allowing yourself to go let life does what life does, and then having that full circle moment
mhm,
and being
mhm.
divinely connected. It's kind of like, your steps are ordered regardless of the decisions that you make. If you get to a point in life where you truly yield, it's going to come back around and you'll realign, to
Yeah,
where you were supposed to be in the beginning.
absolutely.
I have a hard time accepting this idea that there's a one person on this earth that just is for you. I really believe that, it goes a lot with compatibility, not just chemistry.
Mhm,
Because I feel like my former marriage, we had the chemistry, but we were not compatible, you
mhm,
know? and we
Mhm.
did the whole counseling with the pastor, which I've as in retrospect, I'm like, I really wish that we would have gone to a professional,
Mhm.
counselor that has a background, in psychology because
Mhm.
the compatibility would have been exposed sooner. But again,
Mhm.
everything is happening and unfolding in real time according to the decisions that we make. We get to create our own path and our destiny by our choices. And that's why I love so much that you're just kind of talking to women that are in different places of life, women that want to be found. I like the way you said that.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
importance of image. So obviously you have this big revelation on what it looks like to look polished because you look really amazing.
Thank you.
Um yeah, and so when you because a lot of the women that are listening, and we have some men that follow us as well, but when you're talking about the corporate ladder, I know for me, and this is just something I mean, we're getting ready to get real transparent, you know.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um I f I feel like I experienced a stage where with my daughters that I had to be on because he was in the entertainment space for business. So when he was in entertainment, I was like this trophy piece that had to
Mhm.
always look to par, and I
Mhm.
believe that in society sometimes it's so heavy to the point where I feel like I rebelled. When I got
Mhm.
in the second relationship, I was like, I don't wanna do all that. I don't wanna do my lashes. I don't wanna do my eyebrows, and I just kinda went the opposite extreme, even now I have lipstick on, but it's natural, but I was
Mhm.
never like this.
Yeah.
And so to me, I really believe, and you can tell me what your thoughts are about the importance of being authentically you in your
Mhm. Mhm.
polishedness, you
Mhm.
know?
And
Because
it's
for
okay.
polish for one person could be lashes, polish for another person could be your eyebrows done,
Oh,
you know?
I've seen so many natural beauty people, and they're just gorgeous, and I love it. I just feel like you are your brand, and because I work in brand and branding and things like that, I am who I am, and I have to portray myself to the fullest. And I'm gonna have to tell you, ladies, and everybody that's listening, that I remember my husband before we were married, and he would take me out on dates all the time. He would get the Friday magazine, and he would always find some kind of something going on in the city, and I was always looking like this. So he
Mm.
always, I don't care where we were
So he
going,
could
I would,
just call you out he could just call you randomly like, "Hey, I wanna take you, downtown, be ready."
yeah, we would
And you
sometimes just go down to the beach, go down there and have a picnic, but I'm always on. And this is the thing, because that's the way I was raised. Now, this is a that's a whole nother thing. That's the way I was raised. My grandmother and my mom used to be like, you can't go to the corner store if your hair ain't combed. You can't just pop out and be like running down the street. You're gonna run to the gas station. No, you gotta always have something on. And my husband said to me back then when he was just a guy I was dating, he said, do you always have to look like this? He was like, "Do you always, like, do you ever, like, relax?" I said, "But this is relaxed for me." For me,
Wow.
when I was in 7th grade, I was wearing high heel shoes. For me, that's who I am. So I want people, like you
Right,
talked about identity, you want them to be
right.
authentically themselves. Because
Yes.
this is a thing, I had wrote a story on one of my, on Facebook and LinkedIn about me being the ugly duckling in the family.
Mhm.
And I was called the ugly duckling because I was the darker skin. Everybody in my family is a lighter skin, hazel eyes, or that
Mm,
even my mom was lighter, my dad was darker skinned. And my mom's
mm.
mom didn't really like him because my mom was marrying and getting with a man who was darker skinned. And you know that
Wow.
we have that slave
The
mentality
colorism. Yeah, oh
with the
yeah. It's
colorism,
real.
and
Mhm.
while now melanin is so
Oh, it's
hot
in now, but yeah.
now, but back in the day, I was always kind of inferior to everybody else
Wow.
because I was the darker skinned girl. So,
Wow.
I was always happened to be on and always happened to be, being able to be at that same standard that
Yeah.
everybody else was putting out. So I always had this thing that I felt like an outcast, or I always felt like
Mm,
I wasn't good enough or whatever, right?
mm.
So I have to tell you that, and I think Dr. Misha, that I am a cosmetologist. So
Mhm.
I went into that field as well when I
Mm.
was younger because I wanted to understand beauty and what
Beauty.
beauty is, and it is from the inside out. And
I
that's
love
where
it.
a lot of people misplace the whole being on thing. Because if
Yeah.
I'm always looking good and then inside is broken up and broken
Then
out,
what are we doing? What are we doing?
This means
Absolutely.
nothing. It means nothing. So
Absolutely.
we got to work on the inside first, and then we're
Yeah.
okay with how we look. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
okay with it. But for me, I'm just always that way because it was hammered into me. So even when
Yeah.
he be like, let's run to Aldi's or something, I'll be like, hold on, wait a minute. If
Wow.
I don't have my glasses, if I don't have eyelashes on, I will wear my glasses because I can't stand to
Wow.
see my eyes that way. I just prefer them
Wow.
this way. And so,
Yeah.
I mean,
So it talks
they
about, when I hear you speak, and this is just so that you all can really understand that everybody, and you'll start to notice this the more you interact with different people in your world, we all have different principle standards and values.
Mhm,
And the problem I see that comes is when we try to force our principle standards and values on others. And
mhm,
so, just like what you said, something as simple as let's go to the store. The way you have hold on, the way you spend your 5 minutes to get ready for the store, and the way the next woman spends her 5 minutes to get ready for the store can be completely different, and it's based off of the standard and the values
mhm,
and the principles that you stood by that was oftentimes instilled in you by your ancestors,
mhm,
people before you. And so the reason why this is so important to understand this, you all, is that sometimes you can have standards that you put on yourself that really was rooted outside of your identity,
mhm,
that
mhm,
you literally, it was something that your mom had. And so she gave it to you because it was her standard and value, and then you adopted it. And so I love the way Jen is saying, this is my authentic version of myself, and
mhm,
this is truly me. That is so key to really do that work to make sure that it is you and it's not something that has been so strongly passed down. The only reason you do it, and let me tell you the best way to find out is this: if you're not dominated by it, if
mhm,
you can step outside with your natural self and still feel whole. That's why I
mhm.
tell people about the hair and the weave, because personally my husband doesn't like the hair and the weave and all that kind of stuff. I enjoy that.
Yeah.
He would want me to wear the same hairstyle every single time. But it's like, and I tell him it's about, if I have to wear it, then that's one thing. That's some inner work.
Mhm,
But if
uh-huh.
I can be wear my natural hair and go out and still feel whole and still feel
Mhm.
beautiful, that's
Yep,
gonna be your sign. So as you're
yep,
listening to us have this conversation, listen, I had no idea this conversation was gonna go this way, but there is
yeah.
somebody who is listening who really needs to hear this, because let me tell you, I know that pressure being dating someone in the entertainment world. Corporate
Mhm,
culture has that
mhm,
same type of pressure on it, because
mhm,
especially when you're a woman and you're a woman of color, it's like you gotta be on. You
mhm,
gotta, and so if you're listening and you really don't like wearing the heels, I want to
mhm.
challenge you and admonish you not to wear them.
Yeah,
Find your
absolutely.
style. If you don't want to wear the hair, or you want to wear your natural hair or whatever it is, there's somebody here whose soul is leaping right now, because it's like, yes, 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 I want to be
Just be
free. I want to
free.
be liberated.
Yeah, just
Free
be free.
yourself.
Mhm,
Like, literally reset yourself on your look and your image, and see what it really looks like for you now. The woman you are today, the leader you are today, what does
mhm.
that look like? I used to wear 3, 4, 5-inch heels all through college, high school. That was my thing. Everybody knew I was gonna have heels on. I had a fetish for heels. As soon as I had my fourth child, that started to shift. I'm like, wait a minute. This gonna have to like, I'm about to
Right.
and so earrings ended up being my thing, right? I used to
Mhm.
love different earrings, but now at this stage in my life, I love little,
Me too.
gold studs,
Small
simple. It's easy for
earrings.
my life,
Oh, they used to be huge.
Yeah. So it doesn't work with just my life. And so just be willing to evolve, like
Mhm,
Jen was saying. And I
mhm.
know you understand that process really up close and personal, because for you to be married with someone that you've known for 40 years, you have seen the evolution happen, and you just find ways to fall in love with that version of that person. Fall
Absolutely.
in love
Because let
again.
me tell you something, inside of a marriage, like I said, the Bible talks about the largeness of marriage. The thing is that, he don't look the same as he look. I don't look the same. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
you have to be not in love with because I wear lipstick periodically. Because normally I don't wear lipstick. I'm gonna have to be honest with you guys.
Mm.
Usually it's lip gloss and it's a very muted one. But
Mm.
we talking today, so
Yeah,
I
we
decided
popping
to leave you
today.
guys a little
Yes.
pop of color. But you know, I look completely different, not completely, but from when I was, 19 years old, I don't
Of
look the same.
course.
At
Yeah.
what am I, 50? I'm gonna be 58 this
Yeah.
year.
You
So I
go,
don't look the
girl.
same, you know what I mean? And it's okay with him, you know what I mean? He loves
Yeah.
me regardless of, and I do too. I love him regardless of how he looks. Still looks amazing. He always had that body,
Mm.
yada yada, all of that. But it's like, yeah, he different. He a little tired now. He sit down and fall asleep when he
Yeah.
get off. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
so we just
It's
have
the
to roll with those
soul.
dynamics. Just be happy
Yeah.
in who you are. But it's all about communication and letting the other person know what you need anyway, too, guys. You
Yeah.
have to be honest with where you are and say, hey, you know what, babe, I don't like doing that kind of stuff no more. Can we try this or whatever? In terms of, traveling,
Yeah.
shopping, buying things for the house, making out, all of that. It's
Yeah.
all encompassing. But if you're scared
Absolutely.
to
You know,
talk,
another thing I found too, even with men, it's like they feed off of your confidence.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Like even with my husband and his whole thing with the whole hair, I came in and I like totally did a plot twist and came in with red hair. It was like a deep maroon. And he was
mm-hmm,
like, "What?" And so I did warn him like a week before, but I don't think he think I was gonna do it for real. And the
mm-hmm.
thing about it is he was like, "You and your hair," I tell you, I said, "But I have the same heart." I have the
Yeah,
same big,
I'm the
beautiful
same.
heart.
I'm the same.
And that's what matters most. And I spoke his language and he's been good because at the end of the day, all those other things evolve and change,
They do. They
but
do.
it's
You're
the
not gonna be the same
soul, the
person for 15
spirit.
years.
Yeah,
You'll
exactly.
be there. That same person will be there, but it's
Yeah,
evolution. It's as year over year growth.
yeah.
And and you know what? And like I liked what you said a moment ago, how that confidence sells things. You know what I mean? You
Mhm.
have to be confident in whatever you're doing. Just like, like I said, being a cosmetologist, I can't be looking tired and hair tattered. Nobody's gonna want me to do their hair. Nobody's
You
gonna
represent
want
your
me to
brand.
apply makeup on them. I am my brand. And this is what I teach
Mhm.
the people that are trying to build their brands and build their personal things online. If you are hiding behind the shadows and you don't really, because you're not happy with yourself, and that's the reason why
Mhm.
when I coach people, we go through the mindset stuff first before we
Mm.
even start putting up your banner and going to Canva and all that stuff. Let's, you
Mhm.
know, get the imposter
Inside
syndrome out of
job.
people
Inside
and
job.
be happy with who you are. Don't worry about what everybody else doing. Okay?
That's so good. You know what? Because at the end of the day, when we talk about branding, it really is what people believe about you. I mean, that's essentially it. And, people are going to believe what you believe first. So if
Hmm.
you show up to the workplace and, you're not polished, to your standard, then people are naturally psychologically are going to meet you where you present yourself. And
Hmm.
so, absolutely, for those, this could be a twofold conversation. This could be for
Yeah.
those people who are constantly on so high. I want to tell you that you have permission to bring your standard down.
Hmm.
That you don't have, if it's causing you stress, if it's making you late for work, if it's causing
Hmm.
you all this stuff, because you got to get all this stuff together, it's not worth it. Bring it down.
Not.
Why do you think I changed to wear these uniforms? I wear my peace driven leader uniform. I'm not going to try to
Okay.
figure out, it's decision fatigue. If it doesn't work for your season, I want to give you permission to change the game. Okay. And then for the opposite extreme, you heard Jen, for those people who are just kind of like, lax and content, it's time to elevate. It's time to step up. Because
Mhm,
if you want that next promotion, if you want to move into another just vibration of honor and respect, and people move different when people are
mhm,
come polished. They do. It's
mhm,
just the way we perceive the world and life that we live. And
mhm,
so we don't make the game, we don't make the rules, but we do abide by them if you
mhm,
want to get a certain outcome. And so look at yourself and figure out what can you do to elevate yourself. How can you create a 2.0 version of yourself? Play around
mhm.
with chat, workshop it, do something, get your new look
Yeah.
together. Follow Jen because Jen does a lot of tell us a little bit more about what you do before we close.
Well, I have been working with individuals and businesses online, help them build their brand. I really like to help people find what their niche is. And when I talk about niche or your individual client, your ideal client profile, someone that you have, something that you have within you, like me, because I'm an instructional designer, because I'm graphic design, that's what my
Ah,
degrees and stuff are in, at least two of them. But,
yeah.
you have to, like, I help people build brands that get them paid. Okay, I help
Yes.
you build brands because people don't know how to do that. That's not their thing. So let me help you build that.
Yes.
You know what I
Let me
mean? You
tell
got
you,
an
you
idea,
all, how
let's do it.
powerful Jen's work is, because a lot of people really take for granted the power of branding. I've learned that in my own entrepreneurship journey,
Mhm.
is that, you know, what branding does when it's done right is it
Mhm.
prevents you from having to work so hard to convert a client,
Mhm.
right? If your branding is on point, you before you even speak to that client, they've already closed themselves.
Right.
And the reason why that's so powerful for a corporate leader is that a lot of times for corporate leaders, they're looking for opportunities to step into business while they're still working, right?
Mhm.
You don't have to exit your job and all of that kind of stuff. If you're not happy, you need to identify another position and environment for you to work in, because it's really a beautiful thing when you can be strategic and get your benefits and get your 401k and all that while you are building a business at the same time, slow and
Mhm.
steady.
Mhm.
And when you have branding, that's one of the greatest investments that you can make in your business because it works for you while you're at work. I'll say that
Right.
again. When branding is good, it works for you while you're at work, because when people are finding you online, the SEO is right, you're
Mhm.
working, minding your own business, and people are
Yes.
identifying. You're in a world of technology. And when your branding speaks to your authentic self, so you have to know your authentic self, which is why you do the work that you do. But when it
Mhm.
aligns and people see you, they know what you do, it's clear. They love what you represent. They can easily see how it aligns. Boom. When you hop on the call with them, they can just book that call right on your site. You put your booking link in there while you're at work, put it in outside of your working hours, and you
Mhm.
can literally close clients on the outside of work. You can do it on your lunch break if you wanted to, because branding attracts. It is just as powerful as marketing. And
Yeah.
so, really wanted to emphasize that for
Yeah.
those of you
My
all
weight
who
is
are
his
thinking,
marketing because you're marketing.
yeah, for sure.
And
They
this
work
is
hand
the
in hand.
thing, once you know that, I have a free guide that I give out to people, which is called the 10-minute branding method. And it and,
Ah.
and it gives you the prompts to put in, and it can help you narrow down the gaps of what it is that you really want to serve people with. Okay,
Mm.
and I always go back to this, Dr. Misha, what's in your cabinet? What you got? What are
Mm.
you so good at that people need? So when you know
Mhm.
that and you have that and you got that answer, then you can put that, guess what, on automation and let it pay you. While I'm
There
going
you
to
go.
Vegas this
Now you're
weekend,
talking.
I'm going to be still getting notifications that people are paying me for what it is
Yeah.
that I'm providing them. So that's why
Yes.
it's so important for people to partner with somebody. Let them help you, because that was the thing. I didn't have anybody when I was leaving the corporate world and trying to figure out how to put this stuff out here. Let somebody help you, but you gotta
Yes.
find the right person that is in your, range of understanding that,
Yes.
that speaks to you and says, "Hey,
Absolutely.
I think that person can help me," because I didn't know what I was spending so much money on everything. Thank God my husband let me do whatever I want. But it's like I'm
Yes,
I've
thank
had
God.
like a million websites, okay, because I didn't know what I
Wow.
was doing. You gotta have somebody help you so that you can get paid
Y'all,
back.
do you hear what Jen just said? I mean, you if you're already an entrepreneur, you understand. What she's doing is she is trying to give you like the cheat code on
Mhm.
how to skip past go, okay?
Yeah.
Because
Mhm.
I've been an entrepreneur for well over really all my life, 25
Yeah.
years. I started when I was a teenager, braising beads.
Yeah.
Okay? And so what she's saying is so true. You literally can pay to accelerate time by partnering with a professional.
Mhm.
Man, do not go many years to learn that lesson. That right there will save you thousands of dollars, not even talking about opportunity costs for the time. And so
Right.
that is what we preach and teach over here at Peace Driven Leadership. It's 21st century. We're not trying to learn how to do this and that and figure this out and piecemeal stuff. Nobody
Yeah.
has time for that. You know, you want to work and do what you do well, stay in your zone of extraordinary and hire professionals to do the rest. This is how you regain and reclaim your time, your energy, and your money. If you don't get
Yep.
anything else from what our conversation,
Yes.
please take this message from Jen. Get professional help.
I want you to get paid fast,
I will
everybody. I want you to get paid
definitely send me
fast.
that so I can put it in the comments to the video if you all are following on YouTube and all the podcast channels. Listen, we have experts, specialized experts like Jen. We don't have as many people in branding, so I love that you're doing the branding We have a couple of people that are coming on board constantly inside of the app. And the reason why we do this is because we want to make it easy for you all. We want to put specialized professionals already at your fingertips in the app so you can listen to these podcasts, learn about what they do, see them in the app, work with them, and literally have this game plan. And the idea is that we put plans together, we curate, customize programs for you. It's not a cookie cutter program. It's customized based off of where you are and
Love
it's
it.
integrated. Right. So it's
Mhm.
whole life. It's dealing with all the areas so that while you're pursuing one goal, you don't compromise the relationships in your life, your wealth and your cash flow goals, all those other things, your self care, all those other things are being integrated with the
Mhm.
person that you are working with. So as you're working with the specialized person, we handle the background and make sure that things are easy for you. And it's all done through this AI generated app. So if you haven't downloaded the app yet, go ahead and do that. It's called I Lead, We Rise, so that you can continue to connect with specialized experts like Jen. Jen is leaving us with a dynamic tool. I'll place it inside the comments in the YouTube. Continue to stay in community, you all. This is it. Peace driven leadership is about staying in community with people who are like minded, who understand the burden and the blessing of leadership, right? So it's not about how much you carry, it's about how well you carry it, right?
Mhm.
And so you've heard it first from Jen. Make sure that you are locked in, getting professional help. Take advantage of her tool that she gave you on today. And we look forward to seeing you next week on the next episode. Bye bye for now.